Are you rolling?
Yeah, I'm rolling.
I didn't know you were rolling.
I need you to clap.
Okay, we're rolling. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Well, welcome to I Ask You Answer. Title, work in progress. I don't know. This is literally the first episode. And we are here with lovely Chris. Say hello, Chris.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
And we are in Art Space today in downtown Raleigh. And we're going to talk to Chris and ask him some questions. And hopefully he will answer. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you so much for asking. And thank you for inviting me on this show. This is great,
Thank you. And also, we're going to have to pass the mic back and forth because the other mic was not working. And that's okay. Okay, so I've got my questions here on my beautiful pink iPad. And this is more like a conversation, but there are a few questions that I may hit or I may not hit. It's more of just getting to know you and your art, and we're just here to have a good freaking time. Heck yeah. Okay, so tell us a brief, summarization of your journey as an artist.
I don't know how brief I can get, but
We don't need the whole life story.
good, because I wasn't going to start there. It's boring. But to make a very long story short, about 3-4 years ago, I was an engineer in college, and I hated it. And I took some time off to work as an engineer, and I hated that too. So I came back, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. I just can't keep doing this. So one of the things that I had done to kind of de-stress after work was make these little collages. And I was like, what if I did this but all the time? And I just kept making collages, and eventually I switched from collages to more of the 3D stuff that you see now. But, you talk to the right people, you get in the right places, and they'll give you a studio. So, love it. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I make big sculpture. It's fun.
And there you go. Yeah, because I noticed when you were at 311, shout out to 311. I noticed that your art was mostly collage, and that's what I mostly know you for. But I know a few weeks ago I saw your new pieces, and I was like, those are insane. I was like, I love that so much. So just one question. You ventured from collage, and you've turned it into African traditional mask intersection with digital art and technology. And I just have a question, do you take inspiration from the motherland of Wakanda? Yes or no?
It's actually literally so funny you say that. I brought the one behind you. I actually brought to the African American Cultural Festival. Kids loved it. They were like, Wakanda. They were doing the, Wakanda forever right on top. And I'm, it's never really something that I guess intentionally wanted to put in there. But if it comes out and it happens to look like something that you would see in Wakanda, then I'm so fine with that. That's not a bad place to be inspired by. It's great. It's great. So especially that one is my most Wakanda one. The rest look a little crazier, I'd say, but in a good way. But yeah, they're really fun to make. They're super fun to make. More fun than collages. No hate to collages and anyone who does collage, but it's more fun to make a sculpture. It just is.
Beautiful answer. Incredible. Could you give us a little rundown on your newer sort of pieces?
Yeah, sure. So a couple newer ones. The one that you see right here, not an official title, Angel of the Network, we're going to go with for now. There's some more outside that I guess you'll cut to, I'm not sure. That I think a lot of my pieces just revolve around the ideas and technologies that we see in modernity, but I like to kind of anthropomorphize them because I think people can understand it a little bit better rather than if I just threw a bunch of random screens in a blob and called it a day. So I've got some pieces just about the internet and electronics infrastructure and media and security and panopticons and all of the hot button issues for artists today. So those are the big ones. There's that one right there is missing a head right now because it fell off. So I can get the head if you want, but that's up to you.
Is the head nearby? Can you bring the head into frame? And here is the head. It's wonderful, actually. Oh, that's sick.
It's QVC.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
You see
I see the vision. Yeah. Yes, add it as a set piece. I was on your website earlier before I came in, and I was looking at. I saw 3 pieces, and I think probably my favorite is the digital diaspora one. It was making me think about the Black influence on like social media, especially when it comes to like language, because I, I don't know if you're on TikTok or anything, but like the way that like one Black person on a video says like one like AAVE term, and then it's like boom, like it's everywhere. The one that I'm seeing the most currently is Unk. Have you been seeing that one? Yeah. I've been seeing Unk, and I'm like, what are you? Like, I'm like, what the, no, seriously, I'm like, Unk. What do you know about it? Like, shut up. Like, I'm like, it's giving me flashbacks of like the cookout. That.
You're invited to the cookout.
No, you're not. You're banned for life from the cookout. Like
that was a mean Dougie you just hit, but you're not coming to the cookout because of it. It's just
the Dougie was crazy, but you're not
crazy,
coming.
But you're not.
You're not invited. Oh, the piece right outside, Saint
Dimphna.
Dimphna.
Okay, it took me like when I was naming it, I found this like random reference on Wikipedia. It took me like a while to learn how to pronounce it consistently. Dimphna.
Okay.
At least that's what I'm going with.
Okay, yes, Dimphna. So I read up on her because I was like, is this like a real saint or like, who is this person? And Google says that she's the patroness of nervous disorders, mental disease, depression, and incest. And so like you've added to her resume, and you've dubbed her the patroness of the screen as well. Could you touch on that?
Sure. So if you ignore the incest part of, you know, we're going to ignore that. But the rest of it, the nervousness, I read one list that said she was the patron saint of mental health and anxiety. I thought that was great. Mainly because that sculpture is more about screens and media and kind of just what that does. And I figured, like, what would be a great association for screens and social media if not a patron saint of mental health? That just seemed to connect, you know, in a good way. And Saint Dimphna was famously beheaded, and that sculpture is famously missing a head. So I think that also kind of worked out a little bit well. And I don't know, when I try and name things sort of religious based, just because we live in a Christian country and you can call something an angel or a saint and like 90% of people will get it off rip, like even if they haven't read the Bible. So that's less of a like me being like a good Christian boy and more, I just like it when people know what I'm talking about sometimes. And Dimphna was like an interesting enough name that you would have to Google it, and then you can go home after First Friday and be like, oh, look at me, like I learned something from this art. And you know, that's cool. That's what my mentor always told me to do, is make people Google at least one thing. Just one thing. You know, it makes them engaged a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree, because when I saw the name, I was like, did Chris just like come up with this name from the ether? I'm like, that's crazy. But yeah, and I was like, oh my God, she's a saint. Yeah. So I know as a semi-artist myself, oh, thank you. Like the societal notions around art and like majoring in art and like artistic endeavors are sort of seen as like a waste of time right now, which is insane. Honestly, when you kind of think about like the Renaissance and all that time, it's like, oh my God, you want to do like everything. But now in contemporary times, it's like, why don't you just go to school for like computer science or like blah, blah, blah and stuff like that. So like, how do you feel about the starving artist sort of stereotype?
Yeah, I mean, for one, I think it's bullshit, obviously, for many reasons. Number one, obviously, because like you don't have to starve to death to be an artist. And two, I think a lot of the like starving artist stuff gets kind of like thrust upon artists who, I don't know what that was. It just came out of me. It just came out. Thank you. I'm a performance artist too on the side. But I think a lot of it comes from like artists who specifically want to show in galleries And yeah, if you're only doing that, then you might not be making as much money. But I remember like switching to the arts, and just the amount of jobs that were in the arts was way like more than I even knew about. So like obviously there is the traditional like gallery, museum artist, but I mean the people who do props, you know, for movies, the people who morbid but funeral homes, you know, they have like makeup artists. You have to have a makeup artist because those bodies, I mean, they don't look great when they die. I'm morbid, but you know, it's art. It's art. So I think coming into this, I just learned that there were a million different kinds of ways to make money as an artist. And I can do this while I'm doing other things in the art. So I used to work at VAE, you know, VAE, like right down the street. And that was great because then I could like work alongside and handle art and hang it up on the wall and get paid for it, and then also get to do this on my free time. So I like it. I think you definitely can make money as an artist.
And
That was the answer.
yes. Yeah, I love VAE. I was actually on their website browsing around looking for like opportunities and stuff like that. I'm like, OMG. Yeah, I'm like, there are so many opportunities. I think it's just really hard for people to find them. I feel like there's not a lot of resources, especially if you're like, I don't know, like taking sort of like a non-traditional art route. Like maybe you're like 30 or something and you're like, it is now my time to make a sculpture or like whatever. And it's just sort of like, sometimes I feel like it can be overwhelming because you don't really know where to start. Yes. So would you say that you can sustain yourself solely with the art that you sell?
No. Just flat out no. I wish, and I will one day, but the day is not today. It's not. I make like good money, surprisingly. And like it's enough that I can consider this like a side hustle, you know, but much like, cause I used to DoorDash, much like DoorDash, it's very inconsistent. Some months you get a bunch of sales, some months you get none. But just compared to like, I always am like, oh, I'm not making enough money with my art. And then I think of where I was like 4 years ago and how much less money I was making then. And I was like, well, in 4 years, I'm going to look back on this and be like, wow, that's so crazy. I'm actually a trillionaire.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
you know, thank you. Right. Thank you. I try and straddle that like confidence, but not get it to the like unrealistic zone. But a trillion, that's achievable. That's so achievable. We all are going to make a trillionaire. Of course. Yeah. Elon's almost there.
Is he?
I don't know. I try not to keep up with him. Unless it's Grimes related, you know.
I don't care anymore. Yeah. So how does it feel to be sort of like a part, I guess, of a majority of artists who cannot solely sustain themselves off of the art that they do?
I mean, it's okay to me right now, just because like I do have other jobs in the arts that kind of do the bulk of a lot of the like finance part. But I'm also, I don't know how to put this correctly, but I'm not someone who like needs to do my art 24/7 in order to feel happy. Like some people turn to the arts because they can't do anything else. I could do something else. I just don't want to. So at least speaking for myself, it's okay right now. I obviously would like to move to a point where this is the main and only source of income, but until then, I'll be okay. You know, and I think keeping it as a hobby / side hustle works for certain things because I don't ever really feel too burnt out by it. Some of the other people in here who do it full time, you know, you can talk to them and they're like, oh my gosh, like I have to do this all of the time. And I am so tired of it. Whereas like I've never gotten tired because I've never gotten a chance to get tired of it yet. So far so good.
So far, so good. Yeah, I just kind of gotta thug it out. Like,
really. Like sometimes it just is what it is, and like, you know, maybe one day it won't be. But
yeah, as a current freelancer, more or less myself, yeah, I'll do like DoorDash or Instacart or like, I don't know, like someone's like, we can cut that out. But like, and honestly, a lot of people that I know in the film industry, especially people in California, because holy crap, they have a part-time job. They're like, oh yeah, I'm a waitress, I DoorDash, I blah, blah, blah. No,
have to.
literally.
Yeah.
And And I'm like, okay, I feel so much better now. Because sometimes I'm like, man, I suck.
No, those like those thoughts do start to creep in. It's like, well, I'm what 23. I'm 23 and I'm not making full-time 6.5-figure income off of my contemporary sculpture. Like, I must be the worst artist in the world. That's not the case. It's just that like 99% of people aren't doing that. So no, it's good. But like in the what's the film industry like hiring? What does that look like right now? Is that
our camera person is yeah, it is so bad. Viewers at home, Ashar is our camera person. It's not good. Like, if you're a freelancer, no. And if you somehow, by the miracle of whatever, got a full-time job, even a part-time job somewhere, like, first of all, you're super lucky. But, like, even then, it's like, well, you probably don't want to be there forever. And I think the majority of people are freelancers. Don't quote me on that, but I think the majority are, which is super hard, especially if you live not in Atlanta, New York, or California. You're basically looking for scraps. Like, it's super hard. Like, I can't even put it into words. It honestly kind of sucks. But
I'm so sorry.
it is.
Like that does suck objectively.
Yeah, it's not great. But, like, again, we thug it out. And, you know, you get those opportunities and you make your network and you make your connections and you LinkedIn and you just keep going. Yeah. And then your mom is like, I believe in you. So, like, you know, that also helps a little bit.
No, really, it's nice to have supportive parents, but it's also, you know, you can hear that tension in their voice of like, oh my gosh, we believe in you, but we believe in you for the next 2 years, and then you got to get it together. Like, for real. Like, we just went apartment hunting, which was already not fun, but then I'm like, well, how am I going to support that on a freelancer artist budget? And then it's like, you're not, but you will, because you're going to thug it out. That's the theme of today's episode. That's the theme.
That might be the title of this episode, Thug It Out. Yeah. Yeah. It's, my godparents, love them to death. Honestly, anyone over the age of 30, it's really hard explaining to them, like, you know, like, just give me a couple of years, like, you know, like,
Trust me, like,
no. It's like, I'm cooking, okay? I know what I'm doing. No, but seriously, it's like, give me a decade, because, like, when I'm feeling, like, super down, like, I look at, like, my favorite directors, because one day I think I want to be a director, and I look at their ages, and I'm just like, oh, okay, they just got their first, like, Oscar at, like, 35 or 40, and, like, I'm only 25, so I'm like, yeah, what you said, give me a decade, and I'll be there. Like, actually.
No, like, I mean, really, like, for every, like, kid that got famous for doing whatever at 17, there's, like, 40 people who didn't get their first shoot job until they were, like, 45, so I'm like, you know, you go to the early life section on Wikipedia. It's such a pick-me-up. It's great. So, yeah.
So yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, we're going to take a turn.
Okay.
It's going to get a little bit maybe serious. How does it feel to be a black artist in these traditionally white spaces?
You know, I think I'm fortunate because, like, it is 2024. It is current year, you know. But there have been some spaces that I have, I guess, had a little more trouble navigating. But fortunately for the arts, especially the visual arts, it's not hard to find spaces that I know I would be unwelcome in and then just avoid them altogether. Like, sometimes I'll be applying for, like, a gallery call or something, and it's like, see our previous winners, and it's all, like, landscape oil paintings and, like, pet portraits. I'm like, I'm not even going to enter any of this shenaniganery into here, because y'all ain't gonna like this. And there may be a racial reason, it may not, but I will not be here anyway. So for the most part, it is fine. I'm fortunate enough to be, like, in a diverse space, like art space, and like Raleigh, because Raleigh's pretty diverse, all things considered. But I have some artist comrades who have been just moving across the country as, like, people do when they graduate college. And one of them's in Wisconsin right now. As you can imagine, not as good of a space for black art. So no hate to Wisconsin in general. You're fine. I've visited. It's a lovely state. But I'm fortunate enough to be in a good space for all of it. So haven't had too much trouble.
Okay, that is actually very uplifting because I was ready to play the sad music over this, like the world's smallest violin over this. Okay, well then the 8th question is non-valid. It was, have you ever experienced racism in your journey as an artist? If so, could you provide first and last names? Yeah, socials, literally. Yeah.
But no, nothing big. Obviously, like the usual microaggressions, but nothing that I would like fill out DEI paperwork for. Do you know what I mean? So, diversity, equity, and inclusion for those at home who may not understand that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have. I think the most recent issue that I had.
How recent?
It was like last year in June. So thankfully it wasn't too bad. You know, like every 6 months, I think that's okay. Yeah, exactly. More or less. Yeah, I was on this set. It was for which like yeah, it was whatever. It was and I was literally with this crew for like 2 to 3 days. So I was like, okay, like whatever, like let's get this over with. Let's go. And there was this, I don't know, the coordinator, the production coordinator, whatever. He basically gets everything in order and he moves the people all around, and you know what a coordinator is. And so he is telling, like, I'm not there, and people are asking, like, how do they pronounce my name? Because they're looking up my name on the call sheet, and they're like, how do we pronounce this assistant's name? And I literally hadn't even talked to the person yet because I was waiting for them to arrive to where I was. And then the guy goes, A? And everyone in the car is like, A? And just A, like AAY. So like the first 3 letters of my name, which is insane. You know, literally. And so everyone comes in. I'm like, hey guys, like, how was the shoot? Blah, blah, blah. They're like, it was great, A? And I was like, what did you just call me? They were like, A. I was like, whoa, I did not, first of all, that is not one of my nicknames. And second of all, I didn't even give you permission to give me a nickname.
I don't know you.
I do not know you people.
You say the full name.
Like, literally. And it just like pissed me off because I was like, my name's Ayana. And they were like, oh, and like they were kind of taken aback. And they were like, oh, we were told to call you A, like you wanted to be known by that. And I was like, who said that? And they were like, he said it. And I was like, got it. And like, I didn't want to make a fuss because I was like, okay, I'm here for 2 to 3 days. Y'all are here for 2 to 3 days. Like, let's just get this over with. So I text the production manager who was sick with COVID. So he was in California, and I text him. I text him a paragraph. I'm like, hey, like, I don't want to make a big deal out of this. Whatever. I don't know who started this. I don't know what happened. I don't care what happened. I don't want people to be calling me something that I didn't give them permission to call me. I'm like, my name is Ayana. I'm like, you spell it like this, you sound it out like this. It's really not that hard to pronounce. And then 10 minutes later, I'm getting like this text from like the person who started the whole incident. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not even supposed to be here. Like, the manager who's sick is supposed to be here. Like, I'm supposed to be home with my kids. Like, I didn't know. And I was like, no, it was crazy. Chill. I'm like, I'm not trying to like cancel you to death.
Get you fired? Like,
no, seriously, I was like, just don't call me A. Like, call me Ayana. And then the funny thing is that he didn't call me by my name for the entirety of the time we were together. He did not say my name. Period.
It's just such a like, why even make such a big show of it? Do you know what I mean? Like, just call, like, it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. There was an episode of Sex Lives of College Girls that was just like that. It was Whitney, it was Miss Whitney, and she kept getting mixed up with the only other black girl in her class. And then a student does it. Oh my gosh, like the grad TA for the class does it. And he's like, oh my God, like starts breaking down crying. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You know, I love black women and all that. Like, not looking for all that. Not looking for all that. The name is Ayana. Just that's literally it.
Yeah.
That's it. So.
And I feel like it's so degrading to, like, tell people to call you by your name. Like, I'm like, that's insane for me, especially because my name is, like, so black.
I got a white name, so I did. No, I'm so cool with that. My resumes always go through the first time. And then I show up on the first day. They're like, Christopher Murphy? This is a nigga, like.
Oh my!
And then it's you know, it's all good though. Right. I'm not trying to get anyone fired.
Maybe I should start going. I should put A on my resume, so I'll just go through.
There you go.
That's jump scare, like a FNAF jump scare. Yeah. It's insane.
I mean, that's why I go by CJ Murphy for the art, at least, because obviously Chris. Do you know what I mean? But Chris Murphy is the senator of Connecticut. So if you look, I was like, oh, I'll just use my real name, like Chris Murphy. No, because my name would never show up first. So I switched to CJ, and now if you search CJ, there's like an athlete named CJ, and then it's me, and I will take second place.
Yeah.
I will take second place for now. For now.
There we go. That's actually so funny because when I was looking at your art space thing, or like just trying to Google you, I was like, Chris Murphy. And I think the Connecticut guy popped up, and I was like, this is not what I want. And I was like, Raleigh. And then someone else popped up, and I was like, artist? And then you popped up. So actually, it's funny because I'm thinking as I continue doing this and I don't know, whatever else, I want to go by a.love because it's like Ayana.love. And so my last name is not Love, but on my mother's side, their last name is Love. So I'm like, that's cool. And I told my mom one day, I was like, I want to legally change my last name to Love because that's cooler than McCreary. And she was like, no. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, fine, I'm going to bell hooks it and I'm going to rename myself. And yeah. No, seriously.
Call yourself literally whatever you want to call yourself. And no one's going to police you for that. Until like, I don't know, 30 years down the line, it's like an expose. It's like, did you know her name wasn't A-Love? It's McCreary. They're like, no, oh my God.
Oh my God. Even though, yeah. I'm like exposed. It's like, you found out my real last name. Okay. Anyways. So I think this is our final question. Is there a certain museum or gallery that you would one day love to see your art displayed in?
I'm a North Carolina boy. Yeah. The NCMA, the North Carolina Museum of Art, because it's such a good museum. Do you know what I mean? Like, as far as like museums go, like it can surprisingly stand with the rest of them. Do you know what I mean? And it's just such a nice museum already. And I'm like, if I could get my work in the NCMA, I will know that I will have made it to some extent. Do you know what I mean? Because, you know, with artists, there's always like, I mean, as you said earlier, like we either stay where we're at or go to New York, LA, Atlanta. And I applied for grad school in Atlanta and they did not let me in. So that was out. It's okay. We're going to Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill. Best Tar Heels. Yeah. Even I have no idea. My brother goes to Chapel Hill and I don't know a single thing about it. So not the point. The point is I think for now, like the NCMA would achieve that like big fish, little pond status that I would love to have. I don't want to be a little fish in a big pond. I want to be a big fish, just period. And then maybe if I'm a big fish here, I can be a big fish somewhere else. But the NCMA.
The NCMA.
It's like a spelling bee.
It is.
NCMA.
Can you use it in a sentence? NCMA. If you're watching this, put your homeboy in the gallery. I'm just saying.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
I've got an endorsement from like the Film Scholars Graduation. I'm just saying, I think that's worth a lot.
That's crazy. And I am now dubbed the film scholar. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank my mother and my cat. And that's probably it. I don't know. There's probably more, but you know, they start playing the music when they start talking. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for inviting us into your beautiful space, into art space in downtown Raleigh. come see Chris. Come bother him on First Fridays. Come hang out. Come look at his beautiful artwork and have a good time. And this has been I Ask, You Answer, and Chris answered very well. Would you like to say anything else?
Is there like a grade? Did I like?
Do you want a grade?
I would love a grade.
Okay, so there's 3 of us here, and you can't give yourself a grade. So, Ashara, what would you give Chris? That didn't happen. What would you give Chris? What would you give Chris?
I would give him an A-.
Ashara said A minus. Yeah, she's like, I've got. Wait, true. Okay, wait, hold on. You're the origin.
It's okay. I overreacted. I will accept the A. That was on me. I got defensive.
I'm gonna say, well, since you're our first, I feel like I'm a little biased, so I want to say A plus, but realistically, I'll say A. I'll say A. What would you give yourself?
I think I'm okay with A. A average. That's fine. Good, but not perfect. Because who is perfect? Thank you. Although if someone comes on after me and does better, then I have to be back on. Just so y'all are aware. It's in my contract, but yeah.
There is a contract where, yeah, and I think that's a great note to end on. We would love to have you back. That would be great. Anyways, this is A.Love, or Ayana, or A, signing off. Thank you. Cool.
Word. Nice. Easy
Word.
peasy. Y'all are
Easy
great.
peasy.
Yeah.
My legs asleep, so I'm just gonna sit over there.
Mike, no. Sorry, it's so goddamn.
Oh my god, that's fine. I kind of like it. It's like, it's not like it's like